I wanted to go over just a couple of the little shortcuts on your TI-84 Plus. This looks a little bit different than what we're using on the ACT, but the layout's the same. It just looks different around the edges and everything. You still have the same functionality. They're just a little bit different between this and our yellow calculators as far as the way they actually look, but everything's laid out exactly the same. So the things I want to go over are the shortcuts that might save you a little bit of time. If you click on the alpha button, you've got F1, F2, F3, F4, and F5. So if I hit alpha F1, you can see I've got some options here. These are all fraction related. And then you can see these little tabs pop up. This is for the F2, F3, and F4. Okay, these are the different things you can do. So the first option on the fraction is just a regular fraction. Numerator over denominator. I can hit enter and it gives me a fraction set up to where I can just type it in exactly like I would see a fraction on a math problem. So let's say I want to multiply that fraction, and I'm going to go ahead and select, let's go ahead and do I got to actually select a mixed number. And I also could have done that hang on, let me clear this out. If I wanted to go, I can use the arrows to go down to 2 and the third option, the 4 option. The second option, you see that U and then the N/D. That's just going to give you a mixed number. So if I wanted 5 2/3, I can type it out just like that. And then let's say I want to go back and we'll multiply like I meant to a minute ago. And we're just going to multiply a regular just a fraction, numerator over denominator, and we'll say we're multiplying over 6 over 7. We'll say 6/7. All right, then I'm going to arrow over, hit enter. It's going to give me a fraction of 34/7. All right, so maybe I want to take that fraction and I want to see what that looks like as a mixed number. I can go alpha F1, and then this option takes from regular numerator over denominator to mixed number, and it'll do the other way too, and vice versa. So I can use that option, hit enter. Now it gives me the mixed numbers 4 6/7. Another thing I can do, if I hit alpha F1, the fourth option, and of course just it brings down my answer every time if I don't type in something for it to do. I can hit enter and I'm getting fraction to decimal. So the fourth option is fraction to decimal. So, and it'll go from decimal to fraction too. If I had a decimal and I wanted to see what it was to fraction, I can go alpha F1, fourth option, and it'll give me now the fraction form again. So that's just kind of going over the F1 shortcut. I probably didn't do a great job of explaining it, but you can play around with it on your calculator and it's going to give you a good idea of how all that works. But if you deal with fractions on the ACT, it's going to be a lot easier if you use this shortcut. Let me clear all this out now. Let's clear all the history, clear this out. Now let's look at our F2 window. The only things you're really probably going to use on the ACT for this would be the absolute value or the log base. The other stuff you're probably not going to use if you don't already know how to use it in the first place. So it's not really, that's for a completely different video. But I'm going to use the absolute value. If I select that, it gives me the absolute value bars. So if I want to know the absolute value of 7, and I want to add it to the absolute value, I'll just go back in there again, the first option, absolute value of 9, then I can hit enter. It's going to give me 16. It does the absolute value part for you. It allows you to type things in just like you see them and do the math that way on your calculator without actually having to do it by hand. So that's neat to have there. But if you need the absolute value bars, the shortcut way to do it, alpha F2 and that first option. Another thing you might use, you might have to do logarithms on there, on the ACT, and not understand them maybe, because it's hard for people to remember logarithms. They're really easy, but if you haven't done them in a while, it's really easy to forget them as well. So if you go to the fifth option, you can just type in whatever numbers you have and evaluate a logarithm. So let's say 5, we'll make this 125. And what this logarithm is saying, it's wanting to know what power do you raise 5 to get to 125. Well, if you type it in, hit enter, you see that number is 3. So 5 to the third power would be 125. That's how logarithms are. That's all they are. They're looking for the particular power that you raise the base to get to this number. Again, something that you probably could figure out, but it's so much quicker just to do alpha F2 and go to log base and just type it in. But out of those, you're probably not going to use these. If you do use them, you're going to have some other information that you're probably going to need for it anyway. But just the stuff that's quick and easy to go over, went ahead and went over the absolute value in the log base. For those shortcuts, that's really all you're going to use. Let's go ahead and look at the F3. The F3 is all about matrices, okay? You can type in matrices just like you see them on the calculator. So let's say we had we'll just make it easy, 2 row by 2 row, or 2 row by 2 column, and I can just hit enter. I went down to OK and hit enter. Whatever numbers I see, I'm just going to type in there, and I'm just making stuff up as I go along. And we'll just leave it there. We're going to say subtract alpha F3. Now, if you're using subtraction and you understand matrices, it's probably quicker to not even type it in the calculator. But if you're doing stuff like multiplying and you get into big matrices, then it might be easy to do this rather than do it by hand. And I just typed in a bunch of random numbers, but it's going to give me the answer in a matrix form. It kind of takes the guesswork out, makes it easier. You don't have to write a bunch of stuff down. Like I said, if you're doing a simple subtraction, then you're just going to subtract the first, everything from here that's in the same position as you got over on the left. But with multiplying, it's going to get a little bit more difficult. So that's just something you want to look at. If you don't understand how to do matrices, period, you want to do the shortcuts because you just type it in like you see them, hit enter, it's going to give you the answer. And you can do whatever size you want. You can do 5 rows and 3 columns, just whatever kind of problem you get, that's what you would want to do. You navigate this with the arrows, and then you just select. So if I want to select three rows, I just hit enter at 3, and then I can go down. Let's say I want to leave that at 2, go down to where I'm at OK, and I can hit enter now, and now I've got 3 rows and 2 columns. So it's not too bad. As long as you know where that's at, those are easy. Let's clear those out. Without other information, you're not going to use that. So those are the shortcuts that you're actually going to maybe use on the ACT that you'll think about and know how to do. Other things on the calculator that can save you time on the ACT, this little I right here, if you have complex numbers, let's say I want 5 plus 3i, just 5 plus 3. If I want to use that I, just hit second, I, and it's really that easy. Now, if I was going to add these or subtract these from something, let's just use 3i again. I should have put them in parentheses first, and we'll say times 6 plus 9i. I don't know, I'm making something up. Again, this is one of those things where if you're multiplying, then it gets to where you're having to do FOIL, you have to change the I squares to -1s, blah, 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 all that stuff. So it's probably quicker to do it this way on a calculator. It doesn't slow you down at all if you're doing addition or subtraction that way either. So you might as well just go ahead and do it. Might as well just use the I on the calculator, save your guesswork. But if we were doing, well, take that off there. If we were doing a simple addition problem, and I wanted to say plus 3 minus 4i. If I want to do that, I missed my parenthesis. Daggone it. Here we go. 3 minus 4. Again, yeah, you could just do 5 plus 3 and 3i plus negative 4i. But if you type in a calculator, it's just as quick to just go ahead and type it in, and it's going to save you time. Really, that's the things that I wanted to go over with you that maybe you didn't know. Other things of note, don't forget you got your pi right here. Just kind of pay attention to what all these are that are above your actual numbers. I don't think there's anything else that, I mean, you got your square root symbols above the x squared. That's kind of stuff that you already probably know or should know. But I try to go over the things that you don't use as much that can save you time in the end.